And this morning we are honored to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Kitiboni Kitty Roll Adderley. Dr. Kitiboni Kitty Roll Adderley is an integrative physical therapist, cultural herbalist, and tea sommelier who is passionate about helping women reclaim their health through movement, herbal medicine, and mindful self-care. She is the founder of Handling Your Health Wellness and Rehab and the Spice Clinic and Pharmacy, where she blends evidence-based therapy with Bahamian bush medicine traditions to support chronic disease management, menopause, pain, and overall wellness. As a co-organizer of the Bahamas Tea Festival, Dr. Kitty champions the preservation of Bahamian herbal heritage and the empowerment of local women entrepreneurs. With over 2 decades of clinical experience and a deep love for our islands, plants, and people, she creates safe, culturally rooted spaces for women to feel seen, supported, and renewed one cup at a time. And I'll now pass it on to Dr. Kitty.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Just getting our screen ready. All right. There we go. Good. So can everybody see the screen this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Great. So we're up nice and early. I hope everybody's had their tea. I have my tea on and boiling. Um, it is a pleasure to be here. And I want this to be as interactive as possible. There's always a lot of information to share, and many times we just don't know what you need to know. And we have all of this information, so we don't know how to deliver it. So I want to say thank you again to Ashley for giving me the opportunity to come and share with you this morning. So sipping our tea for strength, sipping our strength. I don't know what popped into your mind when that title came up. And hopefully I will meet your expectations. So welcome again. I want to clarify as we go through this talk, we're going to use the word tea, but I really want to lean more to the word tasan. And the clarification is that tea is reserved specifically for that particular tea plant that started out in East Asia. Anything that is brewed, that is boiled in water, decoction or infusion, that is not from the Camellia plant is then deemed a tisane. So every leaf we put in the pot is a tisane. Once the product is made, it's a tisane. So we're trying to get more comfortable with that. It's going to be a little while for us to switch it over, but we want to make sure that when I say the word tisane, you know exactly where I'm at with that conversation. So when you think of bush tea, what pops into your mind? Like, what do you think of? What's your favorite bush tea? What did you drink
The
growing up?
grass.
Right? When I think about bush tisane or bush tea, one of the things that pops into my mind is a pot full of clove, ginger, and cinnamon. Now, my childhood's a little different because my mother's from Grenada. So I had a lot of spices infused into my life very early. My mother is a nurse, was a nurse. She's retired now. But even though my mother came from that very technical medical nursing background, my mother's first line of defense for us was always something out of the yard, something plant-based, and something therapeutic. And so when I think of those childhood memories, I remember the smell of spice. We always had a mint bush tea in our yard, a fever grass tea and bush tea in our fever grass bush in our yard. We always had a Spanish thyme in our yard. There was always something that my mother could go outside, break a branch, and put it in. And so one of the things, especially as we move forward with this, is I really want you to sit down and think about all those memories that are strong in your mind when it came with taking the bush and putting it into the pot, because we've stepped so far away from that. And we don't understand just how much that is entrenched in our lives, in our culture, in our heritage, and should be in our health. And this whole conversation today is making sure that we're stronger with it, that we learn how to utilize it, regain our knowledge, and implement it more in our lifestyles. So, Ashley gave you a little introduction of who I am, and I've been a physical therapist for 25 years. 25 years. I graduated in 2000. I can't believe it's that long. But I grew up in a home where there was always health focused, healthcare focused. So I think I've been a healer long before that. As I moved in my career, I always leaned back into my herbal knowledge. And in as much as my mom was a nurse using all of these herbs, my father also, who's from Exomos, talked about how at the end of the school and end of summer, they would have to drink blue flowers and they would have to drink catnip because they had to purge from all the mangoes and ganaps and fruits that they had eaten the entire summer. My dad was a big proponent of fever grass as well. He still would pull for his bush. And so I just wanted to add that in there that innate healer is there with me. As I practiced physiotherapy, I noticed more and more that patients weren't taking medication as prescribed by physicians. And when I asked them, they didn't feel comfortable. They didn't like the way the medication felt. They didn't like the side effects. They felt they were taking too much medication. And I'm like, are you having this conversation with your physicians? And many times the answer would be no. And I would always encourage them to please, please, please have that conversation with your physician because it's important for your physician to know what you're doing after they've given you the orders. But then it also identified another problem that we needed to solve. If someone is dealing with issues where they were prescribed a medication, we need to find solutions. And finding solutions to me looked like one, physical therapy intervention, but there is limitations to that. But also, how could we make an impact systemically on the body? And so I started to lean more and more into my herbs. I knew that inflammation can be curtailed by certain herbs, allspice, ginger, cinnamon. Um, and I knew that. I knew blood pressure was pear leaf and soursop. And so I started leaning more into that, into finding herbal solutions and ways to help people with their wellness. And so that's how the Spice Clinic and Pharmacy was brought into the picture. And just dabbling with herbs, I got an invitation 2 years ago to show up at a tea festival, and I did. And then I really realized now that I needed to make this not just something I did on the side, but also a point of focus and a hobby, and also something I'm very passionate about. So I'm actually now helping as a co-organizer for the Bahamas Tea Festival with Miss Sandra Russell. She's doing a fantastic job of giving a platform to people in the Bahamas who use tea as a business means, but also as other means. And so that's basically who I am in terms of a professional. I love nature. I love culture. I'm a mother of three daughters, three beautiful daughters, and I really enjoy learning and loving life. So hopefully you know me a little better now. So let's talk about the Tisan culture, the roots of it. Where does it come from? So when we went to school, we always heard about in 1492, Columbus came upon the shores. We were already here. He did not discover us. There were people living here. So we had an indigenous population here. Unfortunately, with the introduction of the Europeans, we had the extinction of many cultures. So we've lost whatever indigenous knowledge was here in the Bahamas up until that point. It wasn't again until in the late, I think, 1700s when we came back. When I said we came back, when the Bahamas was then repopulated with the Eleutherian adventures and the other Europeans that started to come in, that we now had a new history to build from. And so that introduction would bring whatever they came with their teas. But along with those Europeans, the slave trade started and came in people from Africa. And so our roots really started with the Europeans and whatever knowledge they had with their teas, and then whatever the Africans, the people of African descent, came with their knowledge and what they had to learn in this new landscape that they were dumped into literally. And so when you sit down, when you think about the roots of Bahamian tea and Tisan culture, understand that we have a very strong African background because it was the Africans and people of African descent that had to learn by trial and error, and maybe I'm sure they brought some of their seeds with them, how to use whatever the creator had put in their space. And so that is how rich our culture is. Women have always led the forefront as healers. We do have healers, male healers in traditional African medicine. And in fact, in traditional African medicine, it is usually passed down through family members. Family members are trained. There weren't a lot of books back then, so everything was oral knowledge. They were brought into as apprentices. They were taught, and the language, the lessons, everything was passed down verbally. And so that was where the wisdom was kept. And so women now in the Bahamas, I can recall maybe two or three male bush medicine professionals that I know. And I call them professionals, even though that was not the title. There was a man named Mr. Rolle in Nicholstown, and I think people call him Pa Bay. They said he practiced Obia, but he was very prolific in bush medicine knowledge as well, from what I understand. But if you look around, it's Miss Hannah, it's Dr. Shu, it's the other Bahamian women that have gone before that have really created and curated the Bahamian bush medicine culture. Now, we tend to label bush medicine, herbal medicine, as alternative and complementary. But I want you to appreciate, probably up until 150 years ago, that was the only medicine that we had. Medicine and pharmacology has morphed very quickly in the last 150 years, and it's moved away from plant medicine into more synthetic and chemicals. But always remember, there's probably a plant at the beginning of that whole entire equation. And so I will not use the word complementary, and I will not use the word alternative. I will use the first medicines. And in fact, the World Health Organization notes on their website there is still 80% of the world's population that leans heavily on plants as medicine. So I want you to understand just how powerful and prominent plant medicine is worldwide. So let's move into signature Bahamian herbs. Now I try to lean heavily on the indigenous Bahamian herbs that were here from time when the Arawaks and the Tiano and the Lucayan Indians were here. And it's sort of hard because with the Middle Passage and the transatlantic trade, not just people were moved, but plants were moved. So there may be some of these that show up that may not be indigenous to the Bahamas, but have become a part of our culture. And so I think these four right here were probably introduced. And if you can recognize, this is cerasee, what we call bitter melon. This is guava. This is fever grass here. And this is what we call Bahamian mint or Lipia alba. This was like a staple in our yards. Like I feel every Bahamian should have that in their yard. Now, if you remember, my business name is Spice Clinic and Pharmacy, and I was very intentional with spelling the word pharmacy Farmacy because you need to grow your own medicine. Your medicine should be around you. You don't need a lot of space. Lemongrass can grow in a pot. Cerasee grows all over the place. Know somebody who has a guava tree in their yard. These are pretty easy to grow in a pot or along the side of the fence. So I hope As you listen, you can identify some of these plants that you have in your yard. Now, I told you I'm an Exumian girl. My dad is from Exuma. And so these, I feel, are probably the more indigenous, endemic plants to the Bahamas. So this is Gala Wind, what we call seed underleaf. There's a big movement now. Everybody's calling it Chancha Pedra. They've given it they're using more the South American, the Central American name. It's known as stone crusher. This is a very powerful plant. The leaves are so tiny. The taste is so powerful. It's a very bitter plant, but it's very powerful in that we've seen how well it's reduced kidney stones and gallstones in the body. It's great for people who have gout episodes where they have horrible pains in their joints with the uric acid. It's really good for that. It's also very good for the liver and for digestion. You heard me mention early on that my dad had to drink blue flowers tea in the summers to do a washout. So this is a very good detoxifier, but it also has a lot of potent benefits when it comes to blood, when it comes to digestion, when it comes to gut health. Love vine all over the place. It used to be all over the place, and interestingly enough, we're losing these plants in Nassau and New Providence because there's so much development, and we've not done a very good job of zoning green space and healthy spaces. We have our pine forest that sort of keeps some of these plants sort of protected. But we see how fast we're encroaching on the pine forest, and also we have pine forest fires, which have damaged a lot of these plants, and it takes a little while for them to get back in. But love vine is one of those that we use a lot for circulation, for hair growth. It's also used in for male vitality, right? We have something called the 21 gun salute, which has been promoted heavily for men, but women can also use 21 gun salute, believe it or not, right? And then we also have Strongback. I love Strongback. I just think it's just a soothing mellow tea. I use it in some of my blends. It's just a very um, I just call it, it's like a foundation herb or bush that we have. They use it for back pain. It was used to help young babies or young children start peeing their beds. But it has so many benefits in terms of overall basic immune health. So, why are we preserving herbal heritage? Why does it matter? I'm sure from what I've said earlier on, you probably didn't even realize how powerful a lot of those herbs were that we talked about. But it's our culture. We have a very strong bush medicine culture, and it's dying. And we need to harness that, and we need to honor it, and we need to promote it. We also talk about knowledge sharing. I mentioned early on that our traditional African medicine, their families, before there was all of this written and records, everything was passed on orally. We've lost so much. Our grandparents and our great grandparents have passed away who had the knowledge probably of each and every plant that was around them because that's all they had. And they didn't have the distractions that we had. They just had their straight interaction with the world around them. And that's how they learned the benefits of the plants. And I can tell you, in my studies as a herbalist, when you compare and contrast the herb, the plant, and the therapeutic window. So the therapeutic window is all of the health benefits. They vary from country to country. And it was so interesting to see that different countries and different cultures attribute different therapeutic benefits and values to the same plant. So just imagine if we work to compile that. So my initial herbal medicine certification was done in St. Lucia with Priest Kailash at the Mount Kailash Esoteric School of Herbal Medicine. And in my year, we had Trinidadians, Jamaicans, St. Lucians. We had somebody from Canada. We had somebody from Iran, and I'm missing one country. Um, Spain, I think. We had all of those different nationalities there. Now, we dealt more with West Indian herbs, but we also did some of the conventional herbs, so the ones that are more popular through Europe and America. But like I said, sitting down and just sharing that knowledge from different countries, it was so powerful. Just imagine how much knowledge we have here in the Bahamas that we have not tapped into or recorded. We need to do that. And sticking with the YWCA's theme of empowering women, we have to give ourselves every opportunity we can to make ourselves stronger. And if it's whether it's medically or, sorry, physically, emotionally, spiritually, but even financially. So there are many of us, like I mentioned, Mrs. Sandra Wallet, Sandra Russell has created a tea festival, the tea producers company. So now we have people like myself who are now using herbs not only to heal, but also to increase their revenue. And then please focus on the fact that I said the World Health Organization is saying 80% of the world's population is still using plant medicine as their number one go-to for healing. And so when we talk about health equity, we talk about the access to health. Some countries don't have the access to modern medicine, but they're taking care of themselves with plant medicine. And so if we can teach ourselves how to keep ourselves well before we get ill with plant medicine, with herbal knowledge, then that's very empowering as well. And it closes the gap. If we don't get sick, we won't need the health care. So that's a big, I'm big on prevention. So you'll hear that come up with this as well. Again, strength and knowledge. We're sipping our strength. And as you sip that cup of tea, understand how much that tea can help. And it's so important for us as women. Now, I have 50 plus, but women, from the time we start to mature, we go through our menses, right? We start to go through adolescence. Hormones start doing numbers on us. Our hormones go up and they go down with our cycles. And then we move into pregnancy. Then we move into perimenopause and menopause. So hormones are always changing. The woman's body always has a constant demand for nourishing and supporting. And so plants can do that for us. They can help us through those transitions. We all experience joint pain. As we get older, we can have blood pressure issues, or you can have blood pressure issues even now as we're younger because we've moved away from the slower lifestyle that we used to have. We're so bombarded by our phones and all of the information. We have high stress in the work and in the family. And so many of us are struggling with blood pressure issues, stress issues that can impact our sleep as well. Hot flashes comes more along with perimenopause and menopause. Anxiety is something that we all face, but we also have to identify all of the roles we play every day. Instead of just showing up for ourselves, we're showing up as mothers, wives, caregivers, employees, employers, grandmothers, and leaders. And that's a high demand. And so we need to support ourselves as much as possible to keep ourselves strong. And so finding the right herbal support, the herbal teas or tisanes that can support you is very important. This is why knowledge is so important. So instead of drawing from the pharmaceuticals that have a whole slew of side effects, you can pick a plant that has a very wide therapeutic value, a very wide therapeutic window, and meet a lot of your needs that way as well. And so I'm all about self-care. I love what I do. I wish I didn't have to work so much with people who were sick and ill. Not that I don't like working with them, but I want to work with people and help them not get ill. I want them to be well. So in my own practice, my business name is Handling Your Health Wellness and Rehab, not handling your health physical therapy, not handling your health uh, the focus is wellness. That's what I want you to take from this. It's always wellness and self-care with me. And I always smile when I give these talks because it reminds me daily, every time I show up for other women, that I have to do a better job of taking care of myself. And so I'm grateful for the opportunities to be that person to show up for you and let you know, listen, we have to do better jobs taking care of ourselves, right? I talked about the stress and the caregiving burden, the hormone shifts in menopause, the joint pain and inflammation. Inflammation is a big buzzword. I'm holding a course next year, next month actually, because December is practically here, on helping women manage their inflammation holistically. And it's going to be a very herbal based, lifestyle based course because so many of us are facing inflammation and we're not getting it under control. And there's no one pill for that. It is an effort to support yourself with herbals, with good diet and good nutrition, but also good mindset and good lifestyle practices. And so I'm creating that course for myself and for us because we need it. Diabetes, 1 in 6 Bahamian have been diagnosed with diabetes or pre-diabetic, and that's a huge number for such a small population. But we almost know everybody that has somebody that has a touch of diabetes, a touch of sugar, and we want to do that. We want to try and help people manage their blood sugar better. And then we talk about emotional wellness and identity shifts. We need support. We need support. Our bodies do numbers on us. I tell you, every 28 days is a surge and down. Then we have those 40 weeks of pregnancy. Then we move into menopause. And I don't feel that we were prepared enough to go through these changes. Not everybody goes through them as vigorously as others, but you need to know that there's support and there are people here like myself that can support you through these transitions. And it's very important. And so we have teas and tisanes and herbal support that can take you through all of the things that I've mentioned. And so that's how important it is. You have to strengthen your knowledge of what you can use to take care of yourself and keep yourself well. So we wanted to break it down into mind, body, and soul. So let's talk about the mind aspect of it, right? Emotional and nervous support system. What is going to calm us? What is going to even out that anxiety, help with some of our mood distortions? And I left a very important herb out here, I just realized. Damiana. Damiana is one of my favorite herbs as I move through my perimenopausal journey, but it's known as well for helping with diabetes and also with mood enhancements and balancing. So I'll definitely put it on my next time I do this presentation. But we have Sweet Margaret, which is a beautiful herb. Now I know that one is definitely endemic to the Bahamas. That is just, it's supposed to be a family of the guava. Very subtle. This is it here in the photo. Oops, I'm sorry. This is it here in the photo. I love it. I
Please
first
bring
encountered it.
1 minute. We're not seeing a slide at all. We're seeing you, but we're not seeing any pictures of the plants.
You're not? I am so sorry. Okay. So you haven't seen any of the slides?
No, ma'am. We've only seen you.
Oh, and we're almost at the end. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see if we can rectify that. Escape. You know what we didn't do? I apologize. I was supposed to share my screen. Okay, let's do this. Let's go into Zoom. Let's open that up. Um,
And are you able to give the name of your pharmacy again and at some point a contact if we want to reach you?
yes, ma'am, you will have all of that. All of that. I do apologize. So, are you seeing the screen now?
Yes, we're seeing the screen.
Yes.
Yes.
I asked if you could hear me. I should have asked if you've seen the screen. My apologies. Okay, so here we go. That was that. This will definitely be back again. That was the slide with the Africa and the culture, so you can see that. Those are the Bahamian herbs. Everybody's familiar with the bitter melon cerasee, the guava, Lippia alba, and fever grass. Yes? Then
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
the gala wind, we have the blue flowers, we have love vine, we have strong back. Okay, there we go. And so this is where the slide that we were at. Okay. All right, so this is the sweet market that I was talking about, that I first encountered it in Andros quite by accident. I was visiting a friend on their property and I brushed into the tree and I probably broke a branch and I was like, where's the smell coming from? And I was so happy that I discovered a new plant. He was like, girl, that's sweet Margaret. And I was like, what? So I love this plant. This is such a very soothing plant in terms of just calming you down, but it's very high in vitamin C. So it's one of the plants that we can use to boost our immune system and help with and it's very good with an antioxidant as well. The other plants that we have very common in the Bahamas is the lantana, which is this one here. We call it sage, and it comes in different colors. This one is called lantana camara, which is usually a variation of the pink and the oranges. This is very good for mental clarity. Rosemary is good for mental clarity as well. Very good flavor, very calming. I have this in one of my sleep blends as well. So those are very prominent endemic plants in the Bahamas. But you also have the lemon bay, which is a variant of the allspice. You have tulsi, what they call holy basil. A lot of people are growing that in their yard now, and chamomile, which is very common on the global market. And so the goal of these herbs here that the goal of these herbs, like I said, is to help your mind. Oops, what did I do? Okay, there we go. And so you have the supporting the anxiety, mood, sleep, and you can use it as a grounding ritual. I will be speaking more about that at our tea fair on Saturday. And I was told by Miss Sandra, don't give you all the good stuff. We need y'all to come out to the tea fair. So I had to leave some things off, unfortunately, but there'll be opportunities for you to learn more. So as we talk about the body has so many needs, right? And there's so many herbs that I can list, but I'm big on diabetes. I'm a diabetes educator, and we're really trying to help people reverse diabetes or not even get into the diabetic phase. So if you're pre-diabetic or you have a high history in your family, you want to lean more to these herbs. You have the cerasee, you have the neem. I talked about the galawin before. These are very good herbs when it comes to managing blood sugar. Mango leaf is also very good. Damiana I mentioned before. Then you have the anti-inflammatory herbs. We are achy. I talked about the inflammation. Moringa, soursop, guava is very good for anti-inflammatory. Circulation herbs. I mentioned the love vine previously. You have allspice. You have ginger. These are herbs that support your metabolism, your hormones, and just trying to keep your body nice and balanced. Excuse me. Okay, Mr. Slide. Excuse me. Okay, and so this one should read spirit, sorry. But if we focus on this side, one of the most subtle values of the herb is the spirituality of it. And I'm going to speak in the context of soothing. A lot of my medicine or herbal medicine backgrounds comes from a traditional African background. And in traditional African medicine, they believe in the body, mind, and spirit. So everything is all encompassing. They don't separate it. And as I study more and more back into where the basis of our herbal medicine comes from in the Bahamas, I understand that cerasee is a very spiritual herb in African culture. Guinea hen weed is very spiritually based as well. Lemongrass, lantana, and allspice. If you read through herbal medicine throughout the Latin American countries, the Central American countries, the South American countries, these are known to enhance energy and the way the body feels and flows. So I'm just putting this here. I know some people may have difficulty incorporating it, but it's a very beautiful way of looking at just how the herbs, not just it helps the body, mind, but the body and the mind, but also the spirit. So if you have any questions, we can come back to this, but I just really wanted to share that because it's so integrated into the approach of herbal medicine and supporting yourself with herbs. So herbal knowledge is women's power. Like I said, traditionally, women are the healers. We do have men. I'm not taking anything away from the men. There was a priest Lash taught me herbal medicine from his perspective. But we always see the women who are the caregivers and the caretakers making sure that the needs are met. We have the authority in the home. We have the respect in the community. Not that we don't respect the men, but if they get sick, who do they come to? They come to us. So we have to make sure that we have a good grasp on the knowledge. So here you see me harvesting a big handful of Cerasee and a big handful of Gala Wind, and these go into my teas. I also make tinctures, which is a liquid version of the tea that's ready, pre-made in a 2 ounce bottle with a dropper. It's good because when you travel to the United States, you can't travel with your tea packages. Excuse me. Can't travel with your tea packages. Um, this one slipped through. But we have the 2 ounce bottles, the dropper form that you can have every herb that we make, or we don't make the herbs that we um manufacture, or what's the word? Um, refine. Let's use that word for right now. We can put it into tincture form. I also make balms. So I use the creams on the skin of my patients. I treat a lot of breast cancer patients. So after radiation, there's a lot of burns. In the summers, there's an uptick in eczema and other skin irritation. So I've incorporated these herbs into that as well. And so it's a constant learning process for me. Every time I think I've learned something new about a herb, I've learned something else, and I have to go back and learn some more, do the scientific research. And so, with that, this is the businesses. This is the Spice Clinic and Pharmacy and handling your health. And what we have right now going on is an offer where we want you to, if you're interested, you can have a personalized herbal guidance. There's a form that we send out, and you fill it in and you tell us exactly what your needs, wants, and desires are, your health goals and your wellness goals. And then we do a bit of medical history. That gives us a better idea of what exactly your herbal needs can possibly be. And then we talk through that. Also, movement is extremely important. As mentioned, I'm an integrative physical therapist. So a physical therapist shows up to make sure that you function better physically. But because of my skill sets and my knowledge base, I've integrated herbal medicine and energy medicine and wellness into the whole package. So it's just never just physio or just or herbal medicine. Everything has to go part and parcel, because if you have circulation issues, you need to move, and you need to move safely. If you're diabetic and you have balance issues, you need to move, and you need to move safely if your balance is impaired. So these are the ways that I show up in the space and the offerings that we have. I also want to encourage you to please come out and share your time with us next week, Saturday. We have the Christmas Tea Festival. It's going to be held at the National Art Gallery. It's our third. I am the first place winner of the first year and a third place winner of the second year. I hope I place in the first three again this year. That's the goal. But every year we do it, Mrs. Russell brings more and more to the table. So we have a tea tasting competition this year. We actually have a high tea this year. There's going to be a fashion show this year and a designated kiddies corner. So you can bring the kids and let them have fun. But it is going to be very educational, very interactive, engaging celebration of teas. And it's a great opportunity for you to buy gifts for your loved ones, healthy, holistic gifts for your loved ones, and supporting the Bahamian tea culture, Bahamian entrepreneurs. And then I'll also encourage you too to join us the following Saturday. We have a wellness workshop, and it's focused on holistic and traditional medicine. We want to bridge the gap. So we have invited Dr. Daniel Bouma, who is a PhD medical doctor from Ghana, from the Center of Plant Medicine and Research. And he's one of my mentors. I had the opportunity to travel to Ghana in April with the Afro-Caribbean Global Expo. And I went to this Center of Plant Medicine and Research in Ghana. It is a organization just dedicated to herbal medicine, understanding the therapeutic value of the plants. And what struck me so much about that visit, that they have their medical clinic smack in that center. So they treat their patients with plants. And we just knew we had to get him to come out to this one. We have Dr. Dan from UG Pines. I'm sure you've heard about UG Pines. Um, in Alabama that's focused on holistic wellness. We have our own Dr. Desiree Cox, our Rhodes Scholar. She does the Healing Conference every year. She brings in international people to talk about progressive health and medicine. We have Dr. Shakira Carroll, who's a family medicine practitioner who is very, very focused on wellness, but she has also created an app to help Bahamian people find the doctor specific to their needs. So many times you're asking friends, who do you think? You can go to this app and it'll give you all of the information to find the doctor that's best aligned for what you need. We also have Dr. Ann Roll, who's a holistic nutritionist, who is also my mom, but she's going to be talking about diet and finding the right ways to eat and be holistic in the way that you're managing your hormones and your health. And then you have the co-founders. The primary co-founder is Miss Cherie Lockhart. She is a cancer survivor. She is a Pilates instructor. She's a fitness instructor, a dance instructor. Cherie has done a very conservative way of managing her health. She is just so strong in terms of the way she went holistically, fasting and eating, cutting out sugar, and just she just has a wonderful story, a wonderful testimony of how it is to live healthy and well as you face chronic diseases. And I will also be presenting on making better choices and creating a better therapeutic alliance between ourselves as well as our healthcare practitioners. So it's going to be a very impactful workshop. We're going to have NRG out there. There's going to be somebody from Diamond Therapy. So we have all of these things there. So between the next 2 weekends, there are lots of activities for you to focus on your wellness. You can come out next week, Saturday, and get all of your teas. You're going to have people from Crooked Island, from Long Island. Listen, it's going to be so good. And so I'm probably overselling right now. And I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to share time with you on your Saturday morning. My phone number is there. If you scan the QR code, you can get the form. So if you can't scan the QR code, that's okay. Take my number, send me a WhatsApp message. I am on vacation, but I'll be back in office Tuesday morning. But please send me your WhatsApp any messages that you have WhatsApp. And so at this point, I will yield to any questions, comments, queries, concerns that you may have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I think it was very informative. When I first saw the fly, I was like 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, but I'm so happy that I decided to tune in. I definitely will be in touch with you. At some point, I made a note that you're not back in office until Tuesday, but I will try to attend one of those things that you mentioned that's coming up within the next couple weeks. So thank you so much. It was really informative. And I think what I appreciate is that you cross a number of areas. It's not just the physiotherapy, it's not just the pharmacy. You're interested in wellness and rehab. And I think we need to have that more holistic approach about mind, body, and spirit. I have been fortunate in the health facilities that I have had to use, that they were interested in the mind, body, and spirit as well. I think I met your mom at the farmers market before, Miss Ann Roll, but I am just grateful for and I'm just so happy. I think this is something that I need to add to my health package. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Please reach out. Any questions, any plants that I mentioned? Anybody wants to share their herbal story, their herbal journey?
Good morning. Do you need a referral to come to you from a doctor, or can you just come to you?
So it depends on your services. The short answer is no, you don't need a referral. If it's a wellness visit, you don't need a referral. However, if it's a physical therapy visit and you would like your insurance to cover the cost, we need a referral form from a doctor. And depending too on what you present with, because there are some people that are very complex medically, we would definitely need a doctor's referral to handle that. But if it's a wellness visit, something light, we can go through with that and go from there. The best thing is just to reach out to me, give me a little idea of what you're experiencing, and I can better guide you.
Thank you. And I do use the different bush medicine trees. I do in my whatever I believe with if things growing in your yard, you read up on it because it's there for you for a reason. And my doing a little bit more research on the shepherd needle right now.
Yes.
But I do the Cerecy, the light leaf, the Spanish thyme. We have the pear leaf. I just use the pear leaf. Sometimes the moringa leaf. The other one is breadfruit leaf. From time to time, not all one time, but I'm still learning. I have a couple books and stuff that I'm going through. We need what I would like, a course, a hands-on, where you go into the bush and you show us the different things there, and something like that.
I do that. Thanks so much for sharing. I do that. It was so funny how it happened one day. A friend of mine was visiting from the States, and she was staying at Airbnb in Cable Beach, and we decided to just go for a walk and just to get our exercise and talk and walk. And I was showing her the different plants. And by the end of our walk, we had 35 different plants. She was blown away. And I'm like, yeah, you could use this. She's like, you need to do this as a course. So I do have that. In my clinic space, I'm also creating a garden with most of the plants that I can put into the yard. And so we have that as well. And I do that in Exuma. So that is definitely coming. And there are courses where I actually have the plants, the dry plants, and we can go through all of that as well. And just to your point on shepherd needle, do your research and you will find that you can actually replace kale for shepherd needle. So when I hear patients tell me, Doc, I can't eat healthy because I can't eat plants because it's healthy because it's too expensive. It's not expensive. You just don't understand what you have there for you. You don't have the knowledge. You don't want to do the research. And many times you can have everything right in your yard or almost everything. And if you don't have everything, find somebody that has. So
Yeah.
there's another plant that's called Malabar spinach. It's a very aggressive plant. You drop it and it just grows all over the fence. That is a fantastic source of greens. You don't need to go and buy these expensive vegetables, the green vegetables, because Malabar spinach is quite dense in its nutritional value. And
We
so
had
my
that.
courses,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We had that growing in our yard, but the people who came to clean the yard, after a while, it ended up not coming back.
Okay, so and so this is what I teach in my course as well. So keep your seeds. Always keep your seeds and always try to keep something frozen. So I'm in Florida right now visiting my sister. And I have a lot of cousins through the Fort Lauderdale area. And what I always tell them, especially in hurricane season, when you're cutting your trees, like one cousin has a neem tree, one cousin's yard is full of gale of wind. Somebody has cerasee all over the fence. And I'm like, before your gardener comes, pull the stuff off, pull the leaves off, put them in a brown paper bag, dry them, right? Dry them, keep them in brown paper bags, ziplock them, or put them in mason jars. So if anybody needs anything, if somebody has a cold or they want some cerasee, they know this person has cerasee. So you have that. If you pat all of that spinach, I know sometimes like it's disgusting how fast it grows, but if you cut that and put it in a Ziploc plastic bag and put it in your fridge, on your freezer, you can freeze that. You can pull that down for spinach soup, or you can pull that down for a spinach stir fry. We need to empower ourselves with the education of using what we have. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be difficult to attain. In a group like this, in your membership groups, you can have where everybody does a inventory. So one of the things I also do too is a yard inventory. I'll come to your yard, walk around your yard, show you what you have. Then we match it to what your health goals, benefits, and needs are. And then now you know the next time you have joint pain, what you can do. If your stomach's upset, which ones you can could boil. So if you know what your yard inventory is, like you said, I'm trying to learn what I have in my yard, then you can dry, you can save, you can share, you can trade. This is where we have to go. We have to get back into that community spirit of making sure we take care of ourselves and take care of others. I'm extremely passionate about that. I could talk on and on. I'm watching the time, so I just want to say that. Thank you.
And we have a question from Miss Pamela Moultrie.
Miss Mushrik? Is she still there?
Did anyone else have a comment or question? Miss Moultrie, feel free to unmute as soon as you can. Alrighty. If not, Dr. Kitty, thank you so much for such a rich and enlightening session. To officially thank you, we have Miss Daphne. Sorry, go ahead, Miss Moultrie.
Sorry, I am outside actually. I'm gardening reading as I listen to you and watch. And it's so very interesting. I wanted to thank you for a very informative session with us. I wish it could be longer. It passed very quickly. I just wanted to, and one thing about Shepherd Needles, they're always going to be with us. They like the poor. So it's interesting what you just said. I don't have to spend money on kale. That's something for me to follow up on. But I wanted to mention Galovin because I know a lot of people use it. A dear friend of mine passed away, and she's the only person I trusted to identify it because there's another plant that looks very much like it that is poisonous, and I would like to learn more about that. It almost killed my parents, and they knew
wow.
bush medicine, and it killed another friend's son. He mistook it for Galovin. So, and I'm
Okay.
serious. And it looks, yeah, so things like that we need to know. We need to know what we're putting into our mouths when and so I look forward to your sessions. I hope Ashley sends out the emails and everything to everyone. I'm definitely going to follow up on it. Thank you again.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And so there are also rules for taking herbal medicine as well, right? So we have, depending on the potency of the herb, everything is in moderation. The reason why we have illness is because there's an imbalance. We're doing something too much. And so it's the same thing with herbal medicine. You should take it for stints of 3, 6, 9 days and then rest, depending on the herb. All right. And so this is why you don't drink one thing every day, which is interesting because I remember drinking Cersei every day as a child. And because my aunt just made us do that. And as soon as she turned around, we would pour the tea in a house plant. That house plant was the most beautiful plant in Nassau. But certain plants, especially like the shepherd needle too, which it can be very potent. The greener the leaf, the more potent the plant. That's one of the things that you can follow. All right. And so definitely I will. I'm so glad that I'm getting this feedback because, like I said, there's so much knowledge. I really want to give people what they need to know to get started. You should not be afraid. You should respect it, but you'd never be afraid of it. And what we're going to do is arm you with the knowledge to make better choices, better decisions on how to utilize what you have around you. So thank you so much for that, Ms. Moultrie.
Thank you so much. And we'll have Miss Daphne Woods McIntosh for the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Interesting, very interesting. I've been here taking my notes. So, like Ms. Moultrie said, I wish it was longer. But nonetheless, next time and next Saturday after next or next Saturday. Look forward to the events. Well,
Saturday.
yes. As we come to the close of today's Empowerment Exchange, the Young Women's Christian Association of the Bahamas extends heartfelt thanks to everyone who made this session so meaningful. A very special thanks to you, our guest speaker, Dr. Kitiboni, Kitty Rolle Adderley. Thank you, Dr. Kitty, for generously sharing your knowledge, your heart, and your passion for Bahamian tea traditions and holistic wellness. Their presentation, Sipping Our Strength, how Bahamian teas empower the wise women's mind, body, and spirit, reminded us of the power of culture, self-care, and sisterhood in strengthening our daily lives. We truly appreciate the work you do to uplift women and preserve our Bahamian heritage. We also want to acknowledge your role in the Bahamas Christmas Tea Festival, and we encourage everyone to support this beautiful cultural celebration happening on Saturday, December 6th at the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas. From tea tastings and local vendors to wellness, fashion, and entertainment, it promises to be a wonderful experience for the entire family. To everyone on this Zoom meeting, thank you for showing up, for engaging, and for creating the warm energy that made this virtual space so special today. As a reminder, the YWCA Bahamas continues its mission to empower women, girls, and families through leadership, education, wellness, and community engagement. We invite you to stay connected with us, participate in our upcoming empowerment exchanges, and consider becoming a YWCA member or partner as we continue building stronger, more empowered communities together. Once again, thank you all. May you enjoy the rest of your weekend and each day ahead. Refresh, inspire, and strengthen one sip and one step at a time. Thank you.